Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So today we got a man from who's a U.S. citizen, and he says he was detained without explanation, returning from Canada. This is from NBC 10 Boston. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into this. With that being said, was smoking all my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty, great, so achievement, never slacking. And yeah, we're gonna keep it in the U.S. today, and figure out what's going on. There's Americans claiming that they're being detained on their way back from out the country, and no explanation, nothing. So yeah, let's see. Here we go. Original link in the description.
It is a story you'll only see right here on NBC 10 Boston. A real estate attorney, an American citizen returning from Canada, says that he was detained without explanation. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. I'm Priscilla Casper.
And I'm Colton Bradford. Now, that New Hampshire man says he was traveling back from a quick family trip on Sunday when this happened. He spoke exclusively to our Jericho Tran about his experience. Jericho's joining us live right now with what he had to say. Jericho?
Yeah, well, Bashir Attallah tells me that he has been a U.S. citizen for over 10 years. But on Sunday, he tells me he was not treated like a citizen at all when U.S.
Let me say real quick, ain't no quick trips like that. Apparently, ain't no quick trips. Like, people are getting, excuse me, from what I'm hearing about, people are getting stopped like left and right, getting detained.
Treated like a citizen at all when U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents detained him and his wife for several hours with no explanation, all while Bashir was experiencing a medical emergency.
Ooh.
Literally drove my car to Canada for the weekend, and on the way back I was treated like a criminal.
An unwelcome return home for Bashir Attallah and his wife Jessica on Sunday when they say Customs and Border Patrol officers stopped them at the border between Vermont and Canada.
He asked me, exit the vehicle right now, and he...
Well, I'm gonna be honest. If, like, the fact that they didn't give an explanation is a problem, but I'm sure a lot of things are on like high alert right now. I'm not saying what happened was right, but if I'm Border Patrol, I don't want to mess up my job. And if I feel like there may be something that feels a little sketchy, or even sometimes you got to go off of intuition. Intuition can save a lot of people's lives. We've had a lot of bad things happen, right? Not just in America, but in the world. And right now, there may even be threats that aren't in the public right now, that haven't been released to the public based on not wanting people to panic. That's a possibility. So I try to look at it from everybody's viewpoint. Like, if I'm that Border Patrol, and I'm sure there's a lot of crazy people, not just in America, but probably some in Canada, and there may be threats, there may be things going on, there's a lot of hostility, and sometimes people may just be following their intuition. And so we can't be so quick to be like, oh, that was wrong, because that does at the same time save people's lives. Intuition.
He reached for his gun. I said, okay, I'm exiting the vehicle. Keep your gun at your waist.
Just hours before, Attallah celebrated Palm Sunday with his family. Now he was being arrested.
They handcuffed me. They twisted my arm.
It was like a shock for me.
A real estate attorney, Attallah says he's been an American citizen for over 10 years. He immediately started questioning why he was being detained.
Even if he asks questions, they say we don't know, it's the government.
Attallah started to feel sick and requested medical attention.
See what he said? We don't know, it's the government. So once again, there could be things that they're not allowed to release publicly, and they're doing what they have to do, or I feel like there's just certain things that may not be known. Do I feel like it's right? No, I don't really feel like it's right. But growing up as what you call a so-called Black American in America, I'm going off of the logic I was taught now, which is, how many times I've been stopped. I mean, I've dealt with some great cops who I think are phenomenal, and I've dealt with some cops that I wish, yeah, let me not even speak, but I've been stopped for no reason, just walking many times, like night, especially like if it's nighttime. I've been stopped and had some sketchy cops, like you could see they're making up stuff in their head, like so yeah, there was a such and such incident, and I'm like, what? It just, I've had some really messed up situations in America. So, where I'm just completely innocent and just literally just walking or being stared down. But at the same time, there is those cases where you don't know what actually is happening behind the scenes, what has been reported, and they're not trying to release things out to the public. So we do have to keep that in mind. We do.
This report, filled out by an EMS team, determined Atala was experiencing high blood pressure and was at risk for a stroke. They say Atala needed further medical attention, which he refused after he says Border Patrol agents explained what they would do next.
They're definitely going to escort me to the hospital and have an officer guard me and bring me back and start from zero.
Atala says CBP agents requested to look into his email on his phone, which he denied them access to because of attorney-client privilege.
So I had to, under duress, give him permission to look through my email, through my privileged information, and he made me write a statement signed by me saying that I gave him permission to look through the email.
After several requests, Atala...
Yeah, that sucks. I'm not going to deny that sucks, but looking at the positive, at least you got your life. At least you're able to tell your story, and you're able to live another day. Because there's a lot of people who don't get that privilege even to so at least you're able to get on here and tell your story. That's the positive out of this. That you didn't just get shot or something or beat half to death.
Says CBP agents called his sister Celine Atala, who is an immigration attorney.
It started with the immigrants. It's coming to us Americans, and it's gonna go after all of us.
After nearly 5 hours.
Listen, I understand. I get it. It's wrong, but I'm sorry. Being a so-called Black American, it just feels so regular. Like it doesn't feel like anything that's out the norm for me personally. It just doesn't, and it might be sad to say that, but it really. It doesn't. Like now, for I don't get stopped by police anymore like that. But growing up, yeah. When you're a youth and when you get stopped a lot, or or things that get sketchy, things that get weird. And I'm not sitting here trying to make this about race. People get violated all the time. That's a fact, regardless of race, regardless of even gender. People do get violated. People's rights do get violated. It does happen. But I just would expect that in a time where the hostility is so high between not just the U.S. and Canada, but also outside of the even those borders like Europe, with people being detained, coming in and out, and so much going on. I would expect something like this to happen. Now, forcing someone to write statements is crazy. I don't know how he could force you to do that. Like, obviously that's against your rights. That's wrong. But once again, the positive thing here is that he's able to at least tell his story, and it wasn't something worse that could have really resulted in an ending of life, or being in the hospital beat up.
Atala says CBP agents called his sister Celine Atala, who is an immigration attorney.
It started with the immigrants. It's coming to us Americans, and it's gonna go after all of us.
After nearly 5 hours, Atala says he and his wife were released. They are now pursuing legal action.
I really thought things would change after this administration, when we had Mr. Trump in office. Things would change to the better. Things actually changed to the worse.
My question to him would be, out of his 10 years being a U.S. citizen, how many times has he been stopped, detained? How many times has that happened? That's a question I would have asked. How many times has this happened in the past? And if he would have said 0 times, it's a time where things are hostile right now. We're in a trade war. We're in a trade war. So I would expect people running who was usually, running to Canada real quick and back, like, you can get into some, the common sense to me would be you can get into, there's things going on, things we may not be seeing, maybe even seeing. There's threats. There's people that, it might get stopped and might just get stopped by somebody who may be a prick. You know, it's possible, and they might do something. But I tell you right now, ain't no forcing me to write no statement. You know, like I just. I'm gonna take that, that L, I guess, and just get jumped or whatever. But it's like you're just not gonna force me to just write permission. So, he must have been, I guess, terrified. And this is really not me downplaying what happened to him, but it's like I also gotta look at the jobs of other people. I have to, and just doing a basic security job for anybody who's done security, you have to go through so much in training just to even just be security. If you're border patrol, I can only imagine, just all the stuff, the requirements, and just the stuff you have to do. So you can never be too careful, but I don't agree with forcing someone to sign statements or anything like that. No, not at all. Not at all. But with that being said, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Original link in the description. If you enjoyed this reaction, definitely don't hesitate to hit that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. And everybody be safe out there. Be smart. Use your common sense and realize you just got to be a little more careful. Things are a little different right now. And just be aware. That's all. Be aware. With that being said, much love to you all.